Good. And then could you sleep? Okay, we're good to get started.
Okay, and before we do get started, Jessica, can you put your camera on? I can send her a message, and we do have a forum without Jessica for here in person, so we can still get started with this message.
Welcome. Thank you. And good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. This meeting will get started. It's 1:31. We do have a quorum, and we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we are now on to agenda item 3, which is public comment. We did not receive any requests for public comment through email or over the phone, but if there's anyone here today who would like to make a comment. Okay, with there being none, we can move into agenda item 4. This is the consent agenda, and included in your consent agenda are the minutes from the June 4th meeting, as well as the financial report and the ETA Access Riders Guide.
I do have some questions on the Riders Guide.
Yes.
I don't know that I need to pull it, or well, I guess procedurally we do. So I make a motion to approve for A and B, and then discuss for C separately.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Second. So we do have a first and a second to approve the consent agenda for A and B. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, and if I may ask Jessica, are you, is there any way you can put your camera on for us? Thank you so much. Okay, so all those in favor have already said aye. Any opposed? All right, motion will carry. So then we can go and move into the regular agenda, and we will first discuss the ETA Riders Guide. And I know that yes, so we do have available to us. I just need to admit them. We have TTI joining us. So we have Susie Ederington, as well as Will Rodman. And Will and Susie, just to bring you up to speed, we did pull the Access Riders Guide from the consent agenda. So this is an item for discussion now. So would you like to ask your question?
Yeah, no, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Will and Susie, thank you for all your work on this, and to our staff as well. The question I had on this one was more related to whether or not there's any capacity for, I guess, reciprocity with Sun Metro. So if Sun Metro has deemed a rider eligible within the past 12 months and then that person moves, it just in the interest of trying to remove barriers for an already vulnerable population, is there any mechanism here or anything that we need to be that we need to include to allow for kind of automatic qualification, or is it by rule that we need to follow our own eligibility criteria?
No, I think reciprocity would be great.
Okay. So I would just, I didn't find that, I know I see the section that talks about qualifying and how the healthcare professional and has to be included and everything else. I think it's in that section that maybe we just add that language, and I don't know what that language looks like right now.
You know, that's fine. We can add it. The only hesitancy might be that in a review of their eligibility process, you know, in our opinion, it was a little bit more maybe lenient. I don't know if that's the best word or not. But for the time being, because of the premium service decisions that you've all made, there probably isn't going to be a lot of Sun Metro Link folks who are going to be utilizing ETA access. Be that as it may, it would be fine to, for the time being, to accept their eligibility as an ETA access eligibility. So, how this has been handled with other systems is they send a list of their eligible folks to the ETA access contractor. Now, when we suggested that before, they had some HIPAA concerns, and so we kind of dropped it for the time being.
Thank you, William.
We've since shared that customer information for Route 84. I don't know if that's what you were getting at specifically.
Yeah, it's really, any rider that, let's say someone lives in Central all their life, and then they suddenly find themselves living in Montana Vista. We want to, if you've already qualified them, we want that. I guess what I'm getting at is I'd like to see them qualified right away, right? Just kind of, and to Will's point, if I'd rather qualify, be generous with the qualifying criteria than too stringent, right? So, I think that's ultimately a good thing. So if there's any operational things that need to happen between Sun Metro or whatever the language is, I'm okay with proposing that we approve this with that amendment being pending, and then just empowering staff to work with TTI and Sun Metro to get the language in there that captures that idea for reciprocity.
We're still working on the interlocal final point, so we could certainly put a clause in there for reciprocity.
Absolutely, perfect.
And as an added point, the interlocal addressed the riders of each transit organization, so
okay,
it's already been
discussed.
Yeah, and yeah.
Okay.
And I'll say, just for my information, maybe some others, when somebody applies for ADA assistance, you're talking about not having to do it twice?
Well, Commissioner, the way we're crafting the interlocal, so it's related to the paratransit plan, but it's the operational execution of it. So the way the interlocal's set now, we are taking care of all city residents regardless of where they begin and where they end. So we might even be taking people into the county and bringing them back in. So they're already going to be Lyft customers. So there's really not at this point in time a need for the reciprocity because the county's taking care of their own people. But to Mr. Landero's point, if somebody does move from one service area to the other, that would make sense to make sure that information could be shared. And we're actually working on a release form so that when they apply to one entity, they're releasing that we can share their information to the other party. That way it's more seamless, if that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. So if I live in Clinton and I've already done the paperwork with the county and I get the service as proposed, but then I move into that's what the example you used.
Then you would have signed a release form saying that access can share with Lyft, okay, and then we could get you signed.
And so we'll capture that. We'll capture that in the interlocal agreement.
If I could, but the two agencies can work together to make sure that the criteria for one is the same as the other, and come up with working relationships that people don't have to keep applying and have different criteria. Generally, the criteria across the board, across the United States, is the same criteria to be ADA qualified. So we can work out through the agencies to make it as seamless as possible for the client. It's the goal. That's a good point.
Yeah, ultimately, it might have, to everyone, to Carl's point, and to Mr. Kaiser, what he said, and Will also, this may not affect anyone, but it's one of those items that when it does affect someone, it's the thing that comes top to mind, and we're like, why were we not more proactive about trying to mitigate those disruptions? So we can do that now and then capture it through the interlocal agreement. I think it's just a good proactive measure for us to just demonstrate good partnership with Sun Metro as well.
I agree. Glad you brought it up.
So I would make a motion to approve, subject to inclusion of the terms for reciprocity for eligibility within the final policy.
Second. Okay, so I have a motion from Jose Landeros and a second from Andrea Carrillo. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. So this will now take us to 5A. And this item is discuss and take appropriate action on the selection and hiring of an interim director of transit operations. And just to inform everyone, the board did vote to offer the position to Mr. Javier Bañales. We have had a meeting to discuss what would be the most appropriate action to take in terms of hiring Mr. Bañales, who would be the appropriate entity. So Mr. Hernandez was leading that discussion. Would you like please update in terms of what Mr. proposed, or would you like to?
No, I can just brief the board. So the, and thank you, Ms. Guerra. So our conversation this morning with County Human Resources were around some of the same questions and concerns that Mr. Estrada has presented to us before about the terms of the employment and kind of the nature of the employment and the roles and responsibilities of the county as the hiring agency, and how we kind of proceed. And so there's a few items that the county's human resource team is going to meet with the county attorney's office on. Unfortunately, the county attorney's office was not able to join the call this morning, and so as a result, Mr. Estrada was not able to stay on the call either. But I think there was some good action items that HR is going to follow up with their attorneys on, and that really goes to what's the quickest and most expedient way for us to onboard Mr. Bañales as the interim. We are looking at, but I think we generally have consensus that there is a process and a path ahead. The county has contracted part-time employees temporarily on, most recently, I think, as our public works department, before the structure we had in place, the county hired a retiree of the city of El Paso, Ms. Padalto. She led the public works department as a contract employee for a period of about a year before coming on as a full-time employee. And at that point, she transitioned and she received the benefits and everything else. And so that's just one option that we may discuss. There are larger things to hammer out with county HR about the nature of these roles and responsibilities to the LGC, but those are not necessarily related to the interim. So at this point, there are a few options ahead. We need to discuss those with Mr. Estrada, but we feel that we can move quickly through the county's legal team and HR team to onboard Mr. Bañales as the interim director. And so in consideration of that, what I'm proposing the board consider today is authorizing the chair to execute any agreements subject to legal agreement approval that may be related to onboarding Mr. Bañales, right? And that just gives us the biggest flexibility to onboard him as quickly as possible, knowing that there's a few options that we're going to work out with county HR and legal over the next several weeks so that we can have him on board as soon as possible. And again, obviously subject to Mr. Estrada's concurrence and approval on the legal side.
And just for the board's information, once information reaches me, I will copy you all, so you all know that when somebody's onboarded, that you know about it, that we don't take you by surprise. And just so Mr. Bañales, and you don't think we're talking like if you weren't here, appreciate you being here and your interest in this program.
Thank you.
We want to have him on as our goal is to have him on board, and we did state this to the county's team, is to have Mr. Bañales under contract by the next meeting in July.
So the takeaway, are you saying it's leaning towards him becoming a county employee?
No. So there's one option where he does become, he's appointed as interim through a county employment process. That may take a little bit longer because of some of the sensitivities of figuring out the relationship between the county and the LGC. And we talked about that, I think, a few weeks ago in executive session. The more expedient route might be a contract employee that is onboarded quickly. And there's a few examples of us doing that, but we're going to look at all the options. And then in the event that we need to execute that agreement with the county on behalf of the LGC, we're just asking that the chair be authorized to do that so that we can onboard with somebody on this soon.
And my thoughts about board members is the quicker we get them on, the better, to take us out of the operation portion of it as much as we can and really focus in on the policy. Thank you.
So I do have, there a second? Second from Monday. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries.
Just a reminder, Jessica, to unmute.
Oh, Jessica, would you mind unmuting as you say aye?
Aye.
Okay, the motion does carry, so we'll move on to agenda item 5B. This is discussion and take appropriate action on approval of ADA Access ADA paratransit plan. And one item to note, I did see an email come from Reina Mayorga that TxDOT has approved the paratransit plan. So that was one of the steps required. The other step is for the board yourselves to approve as well. And so this is a huge milestone. I know that TTI is on the line as well as county staff to answer any questions we have on the plan.
Yes, Will's clapping for us. I appreciate it, Will. Thank you. I know that, or I think Reina's online also, but any information that you want to share with us, either Jesus or Daniel?
Well, everything has been going through as soon as TxDOT approved it. So now they did say that if there's any adjustments that we need to take, that they want to see those alterations before we move ahead. But as it is drafted, it was good to go.
And the start date again, remind me?
August 1st.
August 1st. For some reason, I had July 1st.
What it was?
We did go up, yes.
So we pushed it back.
Yes. Okay.
Any questions?
Yeah, I do have a question. So the changes on the pamphlet, right? That the instructions to the public on the idea of the reciprocity. Is there a need to update this plan to reflect that, or is that because it's above and beyond? We don't necessarily need to do that.
I don't think this one, right, Will? I think it's probably just a writer's deck.
It's an operational thing. That's right. I think we're okay.
Yeah, because I don't want that to have thwarted this approval today.
Yes.
Yeah.
I could speak to that as well.
Go ahead.
In the ADA plan and the coordination efforts, it states that according to the ADA, the transit providers are encouraged to coordinate to prevent political boundaries from becoming barriers to travel for individuals with disabilities. And in that, we also had put that EPATS will recognize some Metro ADA paratransit eligible customers as automatically eligible for EPATS ADA paratransit services.
Good, very good. So your question is?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I mean, with that, I make a motion to approve the plan as presented.
A second.
All right, so we have a motion from Jose Valderos and a second from Commissioner Leon. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, Jessica, one more time. I'm sorry, Jessica.
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Motion carries. Thank you. So then this will take us down to item 5C, and this is discussion and take appropriate action on the proposed task to develop the FY 2025 EPATS service plan, financial plan, and contribution amounts. We do have Kelly Blue available for TTI to answer any questions you may have. This document here was not provided to you electronically, so this is the first time you all are seeing this on paper, but the total amount is for $43,500, I believe. $43,500. Kelly, would you like to provide any information?
Sure. I can give you a quick update. This is I'm sorry, I hear an echo. It's, hopefully you're all good. Anyway, Michael Walk is going to be the person that would be on TTI's side that would be leading this effort, and I would be supporting him. It's similar to a work task that was completed a couple of years ago for services then. We'll basically be starting off with developing, what is our fiscal year 25 service plan? Where are the routes going to be, what services are being provided, how often, headways, frequency, service bands, determining all of that, documenting that. The next task will be for us to develop a document that documents our assumptions about costs and revenues. so that we can take that back to you to review. We'll be looking at things like, contractor operating rates, costs of things like marketing, all of the other bits and pieces that contribute to the cost of services in fiscal year 25. Then we'll be using that to develop, once it's approved, the operational and capital cost estimates at a draft level. To take that back to you, we'll be also looking at sharing preliminary contribution numbers with you for your review and input. And once we have your feedback on all of that, we'll be preparing a report a text memo to document everything and move forward with it. One of the keys for us, though, is that we don't have a great deal of time to get all of these things done before the next fiscal year starts. So the document that you have does have a schedule on page 3. It's showing it's a 5-month turnaround for us, but it's our goal to get back to you in no later than late August with those preliminary contribution numbers, so that there's time to address those, and hopefully that fits in with all of your budgeting processes.
Any questions?
I think, Kelly, this is who says, so I think at the last meeting we talked about trying to get numbers in July just to be in line with our organization's budgeting schedules. Okay. I know that the county, we have our budget hearings in August, and at that point that's the final day. And so actually we've already gotten questions from the budget department about what the county's contribution is going to be in 25. We told them to keep it level based on what we gave, but letting them know that we were working on the final request for 25. Mr. Rubio, I don't know if your municipalities, what your schedule is like. Yes, and Jessica as well. And when would August work, or is July more preferable for your budgeting purposes?
For the village, we do have hearings in July and August, but it would be best for July, so that way we can kind of up that amount.
Even if it's a tentative amount.
Yeah.
Jessica?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, safe for us. July was starts.
Okay.
All right, I will take that back to Michael. We'll do our best to get preliminary numbers to you in July.
Yeah, with the understanding that, subject to change, there may be some revisions, but yeah, I mean, I think most things are staying the same in terms of service levels, jurisdictions. So hopefully it's a quick turnaround. But yeah, July would be better.
Yeah, the biggest constraint or concern for us, I think, is the potential new operations contractor and making sure that we're using the correct rates and updated rates. So that'll be a piece of our work, is to come up with numbers that we can rely on. But yeah, we can definitely do our best to get preliminary numbers to you in July. And I do agree, service levels are going to be similar, so that isn't the differentiating factor for any changes.
And also, Kelly, if I may, as I understand from the email from Michael, this is not their final draft. They still needed one more layer of approval on their side, but he feels fairly confident that this is going to be the document. So, Kelly, am I wrong in making that statement?
No, you're correct. And in fact, he did mention that if you wanted to move to authorize the chair to sign the task order when it arrives, kind of as it is, with nothing more than, say, maybe minor text edits, we would be comfortable with that. But we're happy to work with what works best for you.
So Chair, I was actually going to request the same, just because we received this earlier today, I believe, and we still need to double check and make sure it conforms to our master services agreement with TTI. They've done this work for us before, so we know what they're doing, but we just need to review it and cross our T's and dot our I's. So if there is a motion today to approve this, I would request that it be subject to legal review and the chair's final review and signature as well.
Would it go better the way you just stated, or no action, and just bring it back next meeting?
Well, that'll be too late.
I think there's urgency on the side of staff, so that's why we would want the motion today. But I do think that, and what we will do is, regardless, if we do sign a task order before the next meeting, we will read it to you so that you see what was signed, as a presentation from staff.
I would make that motion.
Okay. So we have a motion from Jose Alfredos. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mark Rubio.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. And that takes us now to number 6, executive session. I don't believe there are any items to take up in executive session, right? Okay. So with that being said, if anybody would like to make a motion to adjourn.
So,
Yes. Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and we are adjourned at 1:56.
Gotta say, this was the lightning round.
Yes. Thank you, Jessica.
I'm proud of us.
it's because Michelle's not here anymore.